There we go. Welcome to the Chelsea FanCast. I am, of course, Stamford Chidge, and I have on the show with me. Who do I normally have? Oh, I know.
No,
Jonathan Kydd.
Is that my name? Yeah, I had a great.
Who's that bloke? Who's that bloke who has drivel and dribble even and pointless analysis? Oh, it's Jonathan Kydd.
It's me, and I really do. I adhere to that criticism, or to that observation. I'd say, not criticism.
Sobriquet.
Yeah. I'd love it. Yeah. Indeed. Yeah. Nickname. Yeah. Sobriquet. Yeah. That's me. What did you say again? I'm having so many senior moments.
I can't remember. Who am I?
I actually couldn't remember the name of the street I live in today. Speaking of some bloke, God.
JK, I'm not saying you're old or anything.
No,
you're old.
But I'm old. I think it's that. I think it's that quality. It's a question of when the tipping point comes. I think I haven't got there yet, but we're looking forward.
80, JK.
Is that the tipping point? Good stuff. I'm not there yet.
Oh, I hate to depress everybody, but I actually looked this up the other day. Because, of course, the average age lifespan in this country was always legendarily 10, wasn't it? Which is 70.
Yes.
Which is pretty worrying for all of us lot, considering we're rapidly approaching that milestone. Anyway, I can inform you, delighted to inform you that over the last 30 to 50 years, it's now gone up to 80.
Is it?
Yeah. So we got a life expectancy of 80.
So that's 4 years then.
4 years.
Okay, good.
4 years and none.
There'll be a bit of life in the old dog yet then. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Well, actually, do you know what? Talking of birthdays, because I know it was your birthday on Saturday. Bless your little heart. It was the Chelsea FanCast 16th birthday yesterday. Yes, we are 16.
How did you actually know that?
Because I know the date of our first show.
Oh wow!
And it was 16 years ago today.
So it's a Taurus.
Oh yeah. Stubborn, bullish, like you. Yeah.
Prone to sore throats.
To sore throats. Yeah. Don't let them loose in a china shop, mate.
Hey. Oh,
that's all I'm saying. So anyway,
I'm being brought a cake.
Is it a birthday cake?
It's a birthday cake.
Oh.
They're singing you happy birthday.
They are.
Oh, sweet. With 2 candles. Look at that. Can you see the candles?
Have you got 4 candles?
No, 4 candles. That'd be great.
No, he's a toddler. He has tantrums quite often.
He's in his terrible twos still.
Yes, he is. He's very much.
Oh, look at that. Did you make that, Avril?
I'm not going to lie, no.
Okay. It looks like you did.
Thanks. I could have lied.
Because it's a bit crap, isn't it? Yes.
So no. Because it looks very nice.
It was horrid.
You don't deserve that. You really don't deserve that.
Hang on. I couldn't help it. It was an obvious gag. Ready? Oh!
Still there. So you don't get your wish from Joe.
Oh, it's come back to life. There we go.
I didn't blow it properly.
There we go. Well done. That's very kind of you both. Aren't you lovely?
I thought it was
look after you.
But no, I was just rubbish.
Are they your carers?
Yeah, funnily enough, that's the way things are going at the moment. Yeah.
Even though I'm moving out, Jude, I don't know about that. I'm going to live out.
So they're not living carers anymore. Well, fair enough. We should introduce our esteemed guest, shouldn't we, JK?
I'm so sorry. I've got in his way. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
If you're not completely discombobulated by the birthday loveliness.
Thank you very much for bearing with me. That was fantastic. Thank you. It is, of course, the wise owl, the loveliest man in Chelsea.
Yes. The venerable bead.
Yes, it is. Yes, his bead is venerable. It is, of course, the lovely man that is Marco Worrall. Lovely to have you on the show, Marco. Fantastic.
Pleasure to be on our show.
Yes, exactly. Our show. Buonasera, mimico. Lovely to see you, youth. That's been a while, mate. I haven't managed to make it down to the store much recently for various reasons, so it's actually nice to see you for a change. Anyway, we are going to move on because we have a show tonight, and it should be an optimistic one. And the reason why it's optimistic is the title tells you it is. And the title is The Chels Strikes Back. Chelsea FanCast number 1132 on our 16th birthday, +1. Who'd have thought it? Now, of course, as you all know by now, you can listen and watch. You can watch with mother, also known as JK. You can listen and watch. Watch on YouTube, Facebook, listen on Mixlr, mixlr.com, as we always used to do it. And it's live.
Lord.
I knew I'd done that perfectly, just as he was taking a lug of tea. Anyway, live every Monday and Friday at 7:30 p.m. or thereabouts. If you want to listen to it live and join in the chat page, which is great fun, Chelsea-fancast.mixlr.com is the place to go. But of course, you can also do that on YouTube and Facebook, and you can engage in the chat rooms there, as many of you do, and we love to see you there. And of course, you can follow us on all the socials at Chelsea Fancast, and listen and subscribe to Acast, Spotify, Apple, and all good podcast platforms, and all the rubbish ones too. Wherever you get us, wherever you get your fix of Chelsea Fancast, leave us a glowing 5-star review, because if you don't, JK sulks, and I just can't bear it. So there we go. Now, while you're at it, we've got our Patreon account, which is for people who like what we do. Basically, that entails us grifting for a few quid every month. But it is a lovely way for you to show your appreciation. But I love you whether you do or you don't. It's I treat you all the same. But if you do, it's patreon.com/Chelsea Fancast. And of course, you can get a Kerry Dixon banner if you want one. And you can join our Discord group. So you do get something slightly tangible from being a Patreon member. But if you're looking for something really tangible, I can commend this thing of beauty to you. Yes, indeed. Not necessarily me on the left. I wouldn't really describe myself as a thing of beauty, but I would describe what I am wearing as a thing of beauty. It is the now infamous, piss-boiling, if they sell Connor, we riot T-shirts. And with every fantastic performance that Connor puts in, like he did on Saturday, these T-shirts become ever more relevant. If you don't like the T-shirt, or if you can't fit into one or whatever, you can always get a mug. They're beautiful too. Look at those two mugs. Aren't they lovely? One's white and one's blue. And how do you get one of these? I hear you crying from all corners of the world. Basically, all you have to do is go to or email the Chelsea Special at gmail.com. Let me know what size you want if it's a T-shirt. Let me know what color you want if it's a mug. And I need your address so that we can send them to you. And then you have to pay. And you can pay via PayPal at the same address, which of course is thechelseaspecial.com. And in fact, there you go. I've got all the information here for you on the screen. You can check it out on the website if you want, chelseafancast.com/category/merchandise. But yeah, pay via PayPal. But make sure you choose the friends and family option too. Otherwise, they nick fees from us. So friends and family, PayPal, the chelseaspecial.com for your actual, if they sell Connor, we riot T-shirts and mugs. As a very famous legend once said, hurry up. Oh, well, I haven't told you how much they are. That was a good cue, really. T-shirts, 25 quid in the UK, including postage packing, 28 quid in Europe, 30 quid in North America. Tim has promised to get me price of the rest of the world, but hasn't yet. Mugs are 15 quid. We're thinking twice about the mugs for Europe and the North America, because apparently the postage is extortionate. But anyway, don't let that worry you yet. I'll keep you posted. So there you go. Lots of goodies. You can buy goodies. What more can I tell you? There'll be more goodies after this. It's a lovely sound, isn't it, Marco? That
It's
proper
special,
isn't it?
Sounds like a choir, Chidge. I'm always bemused by that. Sounds like a special.
Yeah, I organised 500 people to assemble in my back garden and recorded it wild. Yeah. No, I'm lying. I nicked it off Tinternet. But anyway, it is lovely, isn't it? I love the fact that it boils the piss of all opposition fans. Oh, you only got one song. Oh, you only got a song with one word in it. You're rubbish, aren't you? Yeah, but it does not fuck you off when we sing it. Right. Yeah, admit it. Okay, on with the Villa match. Of course, I had the presence of mind or stupidity, depending on your choice, to go out to dinner on Saturday night exactly the same time as the Villa Chelsea match, because I didn't. Well, I mean, I was planning on going actually, and then they moved the bloody time, and it was just, oh, for God's sake! So anyway, I went out.
You didn't fancy it though, Chidge, did you? Really? Be honest. None of us.
No, I
fancied
did. I really fancied going because I could have seen my mate in Birmingham, could have hooked up with Justin, which I'd really like to do. I like Villa Park, proper old ground. I really fancied it, but then they changed it to 8:15, and I didn't fancy it anymore because it's a stupid time for football on a Saturday night. And anyway, then my missus had some friends wanted to go out for dinner, so I said, "Yeah, all right, I'll go out for dinner." So I went. I had a lovely time actually. Got very drunk, ate some very nice food, and then tried to watch the match when I got home because I recorded it and was too pissed. So I got through the first half, and then I had to go to bed. And then I woke up in the morning and watched the second half. But look, enough of my stupidity. JK and Marco, in my inestimable opinion, I would say it's probably the best performance of the season. Second half, certainly. I shall tell you why. They exhibited humongous amounts of fight and passion. Everything that was lacking against Arsenal, they exhibited, and good football to boot, and 2 good goals. Actually, do you know what? If I was going to sum it up, I would say this is the Chelsea we want to see. This is what we want. That second half before, that was a top 4 side performance. That's what top 4 sides play like. And I thought, fuck me, you have got it in you.
Can I say, Marco, do you mind if I leap in
No,
first?
sorry.
I felt that he talked in the presser, if you remember, about belief. He needed to give them belief. And I thought they came out in the second half. I mean, I thought they weren't playing badly when they went 2 goals down.
Who did the team talk at half time? Can't have been Poch, surely.
Can't have been Poch.
No, but it was Thiago.
Was it? Yeah. But that would make sense. What I loved was that we weren't saying, oh, the 2 best players, as we've done a lot this season, are Cole Palmer and Gusto. I thought Madueke played out of his skin.
Yeah.
And to a degree that I actually thought, you're actually a pretty good player, mate. If you can play like that.
I've been saying it, mate.
I know, because
you're just a shit Ronaldinho. Not really.
Not really, no. And also the beacon who shone was Moises.
Moises, come here, Moises! Don't get out of there. Come back.
Who was quite brilliant.
He was.
And once again, for us. One must point the finger at is it because Enzo wasn't playing? And Connor was fantastic as well. But the other person who's fantastic was Cucurella. Fantastic. And poor bloke with the first goal, when it was like a kind of slow motion. I don't know. It was almost as if they were all still complaining the ball had gone out earlier. Not that they all should have played to the whistle. But when it hit him and went in, there was a kind of rumble amongst everybody thinking, oh, God, 4 minutes. We're going to be taken to the cleaners again. And then we didn't play badly. Some good little moves. Jackson had that offside goal, which once again was a toenail. Oh, for goodness sake. And he took it very well, which, and you never know what we're getting with him. He's either fantastic, in the midst of being fantastic, he's absolutely dreadful. He's such a peculiar player. What I also love about him is the fact that I got it on I filmed him in an injury. He just wanders up to everybody of the opposition and takes the piss. He's Jackson. He's such a strange man. He wanders up and pats the bloke who's injured on the head, but in an irritating way.
That's shades of Diego Costa, mate.
There's a touch of it, but he went up to the goalkeeper, touches the goalkeeper, or pushes the goalkeeper in a kind of slightly friendly way. But McGinn really took against him coming up, because actually what he did as well, he kept saying, "You're wasting time," he said to the player who was Dino, was lying on the ground, and McGinn wouldn't have it and pushed him away. And then he appealed to the ref for having been pushed away by McGinn. So he really gets in there and stirs
him up.
He winds him up. Oh, he's a character. I just wish he could be, if he could elevate to being a top player, you'd love him. I'd absolutely love him, because he is indeed a character, but at the same time slightly unhinged. I mean, I don't mind that, because if he scores goals, great. But Cucurella, you've got to take your hat off to him, because he was completely shit, wasn't he, when he came? And he's elevated his game into what we saw at Brighton. And I thought he had a fantastic game, as with Madueke. And it makes you realise that if they're all playing well, and once again, Trevor had a great game at right back, and the combination of Badiashile plays better with Silva. Badiashile was a completely different player with Silva. Badiashile looked decent. They did some very, other than the push in the final minute, of course. Now, we were all watching the game. Everybody saw it. We were in line with it. We were up in the top of the Doug Ellis, which is it never stops. You never stop walking in this. It just goes right up to the top tier. And yet, you think, thank goodness I'm not quite as incapable of breathing when I get to the top. But then you do the bizarre thing of I was in the second row. Everybody stands in the upper tier.
You're away, mate. You're away, mate. You've got to stand.
I know, but they can't.
Come on, Chelsea, stand.
They can't get it out of their head that they're away. And you think, but we're at the top of the fucking stand, and I'm in the second row. All the people in the front row are all standing. Sit down. We can all watch the game sitting down. But then I am very old, and I like sitting down. But I had about 4 or 5 blokes around me. Fantastically good fun. There's an aspect about going away is you're sitting with people you don't ever sit with with your season ticket, who are
you have to sit with the hoi polloi.
Completely. Yeah, I manage. I suffer a bit, but I manage. Who are all of the same persuasion. We're all long-suffering Chelsea fans, and we're all observing the idiocy of it. So when Badiashile pushed whoever it was, the Louise, the Villa player, and the goal went in, we all went, the VAR is going to rule it out. So there was none of us actually thinking it was going to be a goal, because it from where we were, he gave him a good shove. We didn't realise he barged him in the back.
I've seen footage of Chelsea's away end, and you must have been the only 2 who weren't celebrating.
No, there were 5 of
losing their shit.
No, we just knew it. We knew it, even though we lost our shit. We knew it in our heart of hearts. Did
you jump up and down and kiss people?
No, they jumped down and kissed me. They're always.
Were you still sitting down? Were you still sitting down?
No, I wasn't sitting down. No, excuse me, I didn't sit down. I stood up with the rest of them. I stood up.
Sit down, shut up. Sit down, shut up.
No, but what always happens is I'm the one grabbed. You know that. I'm the one grabbed and bounced.
They grab you. You're like a rag doll. You're like a rag doll, aren't you?
Because I've been saying things that they quite like. I lose it a bit. I'm cuddly. It must be that, Marco. Yes, yeah. But anyway,
I'm hoping that you mention them on the fan bites.
Funny you should say that. The bloke in front of me actually said to me, he gave me a funny look, and then after 10 minutes, he said, "Are you going to mention all of us in your fan bite?" He actually said to me.
There we go. Did you?
Yeah. Okay. No, of course not.
No,
I can't. No. Oh, please.
What is this? A fucking request show? Get out of here!
Also, there are so many things you can't mention in 2 minutes that you manage to. You have to.
Including a long list of people that kissed you and threw you around like a rag doll. Yeah, exactly. Right, JK, I am going to pause you.
Enough. I know. Pause me.
Much as I love you.
Can I just give one?
No, you can't. No. Because you've done the whole show. So I'm just saying, shut up. You've done the whole show.
I've got some birthday cake.
Shut up. Shut up.
Cake.
For fuck's sake, eat your cake. You've done the whole show, so we can go home now.
Bye.
No, I am joking. Do have some. Mike, what is it? What is that cake?
It's some kind of gluten-free thing they sell at Tesco. Yeah, it's got lots of sugar in it. Yeah.
Okay. Oh my God, that's the last thing you need. For fuck's sake, we're in for one tonight. Anyway, yes, Marco. I thought what was really interesting, I mean, I thought they played quite well the first half. I mean, unlucky stroke stupid goal to concede. I mean, Madueke didn't cover, did he? He was in the wrong position, and then it bounced in off Cucurella. A bit unfortunate. The second goal was completely against the run of play, and I thought we had dominated the first half without really threatening too much. But Poch made a tweak. He made a tweak, Marco. He moved your namesake into the inside. So basically, I think they played 4-3-4-3 after the break, and we looked hugely threatening. And I love this. I have this kind of vision captured in my retina from watching it back on the box of the super poodle flying about everywhere. He turned up everywhere, but it really worked. We were more threatening, and we were worthy for the 2-2 at the end. And we should have won the match. Let's be honest. We were much better than them. Yeah,
I must admit, when Jackson had his goal ruled out for being offside by, I don't know, the width of a pubic hair.
Yeah.
that he shaved that blue and white caterpillar off his head. And it was, he's decided to become a sensible footballer. And well, I don't know. I'm sure his mum must have had a word with him and said, Nicholas, you look stupid with your hair like that. But no, I just think he's just if you compare him to the Nicholas Jackson at the start of the season that got booked in every game for dissent, to the Nicholas Jackson now, I think, you know, we're maybe a decent pre-season away from a finished article there, but you kind of wonder if they're just going to go out, because everybody's been telling them to buy a striker. They're going to go out and buy one now, who's not, 22 years old or whatever.
But he can play on the left, Marco.
Well, no, he can. I mean, it's
and just to finish that, he can play on the left, Marco, and Mudryk can't.
Well, there is that. I mean, I was going to make the point that it's kind of like the Chelsea jigsaw puzzle this season. You kind of, I don't know, all the pieces never quite fit together or look correct. And kind of Mudryk in the last few weeks he went through a little phase, didn't he? I think just before the last international break, and then he had a good international break. But I don't know, he's like an athlete, not a footballer. That's the easiest way to explain it. Just in terms of what he does and doesn't bring to a game, which is a shame, considering we've paid nearly 90 million quid for him.
Well, it's a good point, isn't it? I mean, he's not improved one iota, and his footballing intelligence is below zero. So he is a problem. I mean, what would you do? Would you sell him? Would you loan him? Or would you just persist with him?
I don't know. I mean, how do you loan a player?
Shoot, shag, or marry?
How do you loan a player of that value? And would he end up being? I've got a couple of mates who are Arsenal fans who have been an absolute nightmare at the moment.
Oh, don't. God, yeah.
Not only about, kind of Kai Havertz. Chelsea ruined him, and look at the player he's become under. Yeah. So I don't know. Can you? I just don't know. I don't understand if it's a confidence thing, or he just hasn't got the football brain required to play at this level. I mean, he's still young, isn't he?
No, he's 24, isn't he? 23, 24?
No. I thought he was young.
As we always, I always get this wrong whenever I come out with something stupid like that. So I am about to check, but carry on.
No. I mean, I just think if all the pieces, if Poch could get a tune out of every player in his starting 11,
yes.
As it sort of happened in the second half, then we'd get the consistency that is required to be a challenger for the Premier League and not just a cup side. And I mean, we got to the League Cup final and the semi-finals of the FA Cup because we're not, because we can do that, but we can't string a sequence of results together. It's at the business end of the season, and we're kind of in a race for 8th place or 7th place, which I don't know. I know we all get excited. I think the Angry Brigade were flip-flopping like mad on Saturday in terms of when we went 2-0 down and then, put on a performance in the second half and came back and obviously almost won it at the end. So I don't know. That needs to disappear, that element of Chelsea, and I'm not sure it's not on the players, is it? It shouldn't be on the players. And apparently, Thiago Silva was the man who did the talking.
Yeah, no,
At
exactly.
half time.
Do you know, I've just realised something about you, Marco, and I've known you a
He's
long
home,
time.
which is a worry.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that later, but I've just realised, Marco, and all these years I've known you, you really actually literally do have blue tinted glasses.
I do.
For those of you watching in black
World
and
is
white.
blue tinted.
Exactly that. JK, I mean, it was interesting what our mate Rich Moneymaker said there, that Winstanley loves Mudryk. No surprise there, because he couldn't. I don't know. He couldn't judge a cake contest in a WI tent. But Poch has had enough, apparently. And actually, Mudryk is 23, so I wasn't far out. Would you sell him, loan him, or persist?
I think he's such a he seems to sort of he's perfect for our season, isn't he? He'll do something wonderful and then do something completely shit all in the same move.
If every player in the Chelsea squad, I think what is it at the moment? The injury list 12. So, for example, if Nkunku's fit, if every player's fit, does Mudryk get in the team?
Well, no, I just think they should. Well, I think he'll be over. I think he'll be overtaken if Hutchinson is any of the player that we've been told he is in the Championship.
Exactly.
If he comes in and excels in pre-season, you'll have what you need is if Madueke plays as well as that, if he can play as well as that as often as possible, or like like Doku's been playing for Man City, they get him and he slots in and he plays. So you've got a top winger playing on the right, and you have a top winger on the left who is Hutchinson or someone else, whoever. One of the other, I don't know who else there would be, because who plays with Cucurella. Given that now Cucurella is, for me, is the main man, I don't think Chilwell gets in unless there is a change in circumstances, and he plays as if he doesn't get injured every week. I would. You need to have that double threat, and at the moment Mudryk isn't any threat at all. He's just a kind of, as I described him, I put in my fan bite, a prancing pit pony. I only did it because of the three. It was alliterative, the three P's. But he did something that I thought was so typical. The ball came over his shoulder and he trapped it absolutely dead, and then did nothing with it and got tackled. And you thought, well, it's such a great skill to do that. And the next time the ball came across and he was on his own and he could just have gone forward with it, he missed the ball completely. You just think, is it that he just isn't good enough? Is it that his managers, Donetsk's manager, said he's being handled wrongly and he's a great player? Now, that can't be Poch's fault, because Poch gives him chances. He just doesn't. Everything we've said, he makes the same mistakes every time. He shows it too much when he cuts in on the right. He shows it to the fullback who just nicks it away, whoever comes in.
I think there's a hugely talented player there without a bloody football brain. I mean, I said this
We've said this all the time. We have, I know.
Yeah, but do you know what did I say? I said he's like the kid I played with at school, David Brill, God love him, who was as fast as a whippet, played rugby. He was a winger at rugby. And our coach said, oh, we should have him because he's really quick. And we said, no, he's a rugby player. He doesn't know how to play football. No. He'll be great. And we used to hoof the ball up to him, and he'd run like crazy. And then the ball would get near his feet and he'd fall over. I mean, it was just pointless. And Mudryk reminds me of this kid. It's frightening, mate.
But given the state of the team at the moment, he gets given opportunities.
Well, in the past, no choice, is there?
Yes, no choice, absolutely. Well, in the past, he would never. One terrible performance, and he'd be in the reserves or in the subs, and then would somehow fade away, and probably would do wonderfully well for another team, because that's the way it always seemed to work with us.
Be sold to Wolfsburg and then be bought by Man City and become one of the best players in the world.
Exactly.
Yes. We've seen that movie, haven't we?
De Bruyne has been wonderful recently. Been watching him. What a player! I look on in despair at what we did there. My goodness.
I'm just gonna move along. Move along here. Nothing to see. I mean, God, blimey. I mean, we did brilliantly to get back into it. Great goal by Madueke, I thought. Great goal. Even better goal by Connor. Lovely to see.
Well, it would have been a pen because Connor was.
Well,
chopped up.
yeah. I'm amazed nobody said anything about that. I'll talk more about Connor in a minute because I think he needs a bit of love. But I mean, I wasn't there, and I mean, I did see the pictures, obviously, on the television, and everybody lost their shit when Dizazi puts the ball into the net.
Other than us 5.
Apart from you miserable scroats, you know,
right in line with it, and we
posh
saw
people, the posh people in the second row.
No, excuse me, I'm the only posh one there. Excuse me.
Well, the other's not posh then.
No, there was a bloke next to me, a really haggard-looking bloke.
What were they doing with you then?
He kept saying, "You're all a bunch of peeps," or constantly to the
really,
yeah.
My kind of bloke.
An old bloke. Old bloke.
Did he have his teeth left? All right. Anyway, moving on. I totally get it. You know, by the letter of the law, it's a foul. He pushed him. He pushed Carlos, gained an advantage. You know, it's a foul.
I mean, having said that, he was grabbed himself beforehand. In
well, okay, fact. but it was a foul. By the letter of the law, it was a foul. I think for me, the telling things are twofold. One is that Pawson didn't see it. Okay, which is typical of Pawson. Poor son, as always. I mean, look. For me, the issue is wider than this. I mean, in a way, you could make the case that this is exactly what VAR is for. You know, if a referee's missed something obvious, then they need to direct him to the screen and say, "Mate, you've missed this. You really need to go and look at that." So, in an ironic sense, everything that played out was exactly as it should be. You know, he missed it. It was a foul. VAR calls him back. He checks the monitor. He realizes he's made a mistake. Goal gets cancelled. The problem that I have with it is it's just fucking killing football. It's killing the enjoyment of football. I mean, we all go. The only reason we go, one of the best things about football is I mean, I said this to Sash when we went, you know, at the semi-final the other week. I said the only really miserable thing is we didn't get to celebrate a goal and go absolutely loopy for 90 seconds. That outburst of emotional energy is what makes football like no other game that I know. Even cricket can't do that to me. Only football, it's a bit like Heineken. Only football can do this, you know, and they're robbing us of it. I mean, I watched the Man United Coventry match the other week, that last minute, what should have been a winner, and he's off, you know, as Marco would say, offside by a pubic hair. And I mean, that could have been a great moment in football history. And we, the people who go to the matches, are denied that. That's the issue that I've got. I haven't got an issue with the fact that actually, technically, it was correct. But I've got a wider issue with VAR. You know, I just fucking bin it off, mate. The Swedes have binned it off. They know what's what. So that's where I'm with it, Marco. I don't know what you feel about it, mate.
I agree. It's the insanity of celebrating a goal. There's that whole cathartic feeling that comes with it, and then having to wind it all back in. You know, it's just awful. And what's more, I mean, the example that you quoted there, the Coventry, I mean, that's kind of the significance of that in a cup semi-final. You know, it's just, you wouldn't get over it, would you? It'd be forever. Coventry supporters of a certain age who don't remember, who basically this is it. So they weren't around when they won the FA Cup. It's just ruined everything.
Yeah.
And the worst thing is, you know, I've got mates who follow Championship or clubs outside the Premier League, and all they ever say is, all we ever hear Premier League supporters, or there's always the conversation every Monday and Tuesday is about dodgy VAR decisions at the weekend. I mean, I watched the North London derby yesterday, and there was at the end where Michael Oliver was stood right in front, and you know, it's kind of like he didn't see it. The whole thing's bizarre. I just think the refs aren't good enough. The technology isn't foolproof. And what I don't understand is why have they got it right in a sport like rugby union, which I don't watch that much of, but I've watched the kind of the Five Nations. I don't like rugby because the ball's always going out of play and it's too stop-start for me. But in terms of the officiating, it just seems so much better. I don't know. I just don't know if it's a mix of the technology's crap, the refs are crap, mix it all together and it's just catastrophic. I think the technology's improved, so the camera angles, there's so much intense analysis that they're on a hiding to nothing. But it just feels like they should just go away for a season, perfect it, and then do what they did the last time, which is have trial games and see if it's any better. Because there's too much. Sooner or later, there's going to be a decision which is going to have a significant impact. I mean, I don't know. You look at that goal that we had disallowed on Saturday. And let's say we didn't have Cole Palmer, and we've been docked a couple of points for FFP and just hanging on to our Premier League lives for dear, and we just end up getting relegated by 1 point or something, because we lost a game due to a dodgy VAR decision. And what Coventry think they're going to. But not one Coventry City fan's probably going to watch the FA Cup final because they're going to be thinking it should have been them playing Man City.
No. Well, that's the point, really. I mean, JK, you are actually a qualified referee. I mean, Paul, bless his heart, has said something. There we go. He disagrees with me, so therefore he has to go on screen. That's his punishment. What do you reckon of that, JK? Shall I read it out for those listening in black and white? Paul Burgess says, disagree, Chidge. That is never a foul anywhere on the field. If Carlos pushed Baddy Shield and he went down, wouldn't be a pen. So how is it a foul? Mr. Referee, what do you say?
I disagree with Paul Burgess, I'm afraid, because he barged him in the back. And if that had happened on the pitch, that would have been a foul as well. So I don't quite understand what Paul's saying there, actually.
But I mean, if I stand by my previous analysis, it was a foul. It was the right decision. It was also right in terms of the protocol of VAR that Pawson was called to look at it. That's all okay, but it stinks nevertheless, doesn't it? Because it ruins the enjoyment that we have of the game, I think. And this is the point. I would rather be wrong and happy than right and fucked off.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? I think they've got to. I think it needs to have the automation for the offsides first of all, and I think then the referees need to take more control of it with the assistant referees, as they do in the NFL, where there are kind of a huddle comes together and decisions are made pretty quickly in comparison with the VAR. I mean, I almost feel that VAR should have the same. The VAR ref should have the same status as the on-field ref, so he should be able to say in his ear, "It's a foul," and the ref doesn't need to spend ages going over. The whole thing happens so much more quickly, and almost as if the foul is awarded because it's been. The technology is such it's seen more quickly, whether it's done automatically and then it's then shown to a ref who then goes, oh yeah, there's a foul there, which that may be miles in the future. But I just think it's the whole aspect of them dithering over it because they offer it up rather than the bloke the other end looking at it and thinking, well, I'm a qualified referee, it's a foul, and telling him, then they don't have a problem with it. So they're more as a team, but what isn't the boss? The bloke in the middle is not the boss. He is equal. Somebody was saying Poulsen didn't.
Yeah, well, that's our mate Paul. That's PC, Paul Crowder, right? And Paul is also Paul, like you, is a qualified referee. So What do you think of that? Poulsen doesn't see it. VAR re-refereed the incident, which they said they wouldn't do.
Well, no, but they also said that as we've established, that if there's a foul in the build-up, then they give the foul, don't they? So I'm not sure what they said they wouldn't do. I think they're torn at the moment between clear and obvious error, what the referee sees on the pitch, and going back to a foul, because there've been several this weekend of other games where goals were chalked off because of earlier fouls in the build-up. So
basically, it's a shambles, mate. It's more of a shambles than the Chelsea Fancast.
I think it's
that's possible.
I'd sort of.
No, it's not possible. Sorry, Marco. Go
No.
on.
I was just going to say that sometimes I just think the television companies kind of the proponents of this, because it's grand theatre for them, isn't it? It's something to talk about, something to argue about, something to replay over and over again. And unfortunately, that's the way the game's gone, despite the fact that, for 150 years, the game existed perfectly well with a referee and two linesmen. So I don't know. All I can say is, we were talking about this the other night. We said, obviously there wasn't as much football on television, and quite often you'd go to a game and that would be the only, you would never see any replays of it because there wasn't anything to watch. So, the referee might be a wanker for 5 minutes, but that would be the end of it. And, I don't know, for years, it was that's the way it was. So I don't know, but you can sort of think of Jeff Hurst's goal. Was it over the line or not? Well, obviously the goal line technology resolves that now anyway. But it's kind of, I don't know. There was like Alan Hudson's goal against Ipswich that
the one that missed the post.
Well, yeah, but
netting.
I'm just trying to think of like really weird situations, but I do not recall in all my years of going to football before VAR became a thing, spending too much time, agonizing over what happened in a game and should it have been. I don't know. Maybe we did, and I've just forgotten it because I can't remember. But
the trouble is, though, isn't it, Marco, that they started upping the number of cameras looking at the incidents.
Well, that's what I mean.
So we at home could see that the referee had cocked up.
Yeah,
and that's why VAR was introduced, because it was obvious that so many errors were being made, and that's always going to be the problem. I don't see how they'll ever get away from. If they scrap VAR, all that would happen was the TV companies would show all the terrible errors they'd made, and all the teams would complain that the referee had stitched them up. So I think
the only way really to do it would be to fully automate it.
Well, I think that'll happen. There'll be a way of doing it, but I think we're talking 50 years time. I don't think we're even 20 years time. We're not talking now. I think the offsides being automated will appease lots of people because the decision will be made really quickly. So if the goal won't get an opportunity for the goal to be awarded, the goal to be given, or the referee to go to wait, because it will already have happened. The flag will have gone up. The lines won't get it in his ears that it was offside. His flag will go up, and the move will therefore not develop. Or if the ball does go into the net, everybody will see immediately it's offside. So I think that is something that will be dealt with. It's these other aspects is the problem. It's like a foul being committed or something happening earlier, which, as Paul says, is down to different interpretations. But what I was trying to suggest was that, and as who was it on there as well? Somebody else said they were a ref. It's gone through, I'm afraid. Me too. The ref is always the boss, but I think what they're trying to do is to take the power slightly out of his hands by giving it to VAR, by the VAR ref. And the VAR is a ref. So surely there should be there's either some kind of discussion between the two, which we should be a party to. We should know what's going on.
Like they do in rugby and cricket.
Indeed, hear the conversation. Absolutely. Because it it's interesting, and it makes it also, you can see what they're trying to achieve with it. I don't know why
it works. It works
so much
perfectly
to it.
well, doesn't it, in cricket and rugby?
Yes. So
You know,
why don't they have a chat? Why don't they see it? Why don't we see it on the screen? Why don't they go along those lines?
They patronize and infantilize us all the time. We don't count. We are fucking irrelevant.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's absolutely appalling that, you know, if you're watching it at home on TV, you have more of a clue about what's going on than the people who are actually at the ground. It just tells you everything that the football establishment thinks of match-going supporters. They don't give a fuck. They just want their money, and they don't even want that because we don't give them enough, apparently.
I found myself the other day watching the game and thinking, I wonder if got the timing right, and actually the game is actually happening slightly sooner, and that I'm watching it on a kind of delay. And I thought, hang on a second, I'm at the match. Well, what am I thinking about?
I know.
But that's the way we've been sort of suckered into the whole thing, isn't it? You know.
Anyway, let's move it all on. You mentioned Moises. Moises! Here he is, Moises. I mean, mate, I thought he was a Kante-like revelation on Saturday. That's exactly what we need to see from him. I mean, he's not Kante. There's only one. Well, actually, there are two Kantes, the twins, of course. But there's no, you know. But what I mean by that is somebody who tenaciously and aggressively wins the ball back in midfield and then gets it over, you know, gets it out to somebody else. That's what Kante was incomparable at, and that's what we need. Which kind of begs the question: if that's where Moises is going, and I heard people saying, yeah. Moises, that's what people were saying. Oh, that's what he was a lot more like at Brighton. Then it tells you one thing: he's not a DM. He's not a defensive midfield player who's going to just sit there. So he's not the answer to that glaring problem that we have because we didn't buy Declan Rice. He's also not Enzo, and Enzo is not that either. And I mean, I know you made the point about Gallagher and Moises seeming to play a lot better than Enzo does. I mean, I think we have to be a bit fair to Enzo because, you know, he's clearly been playing under that horrible injury for a long time. And one needs to applaud him for having the cojones to do that. But he's not a defensive midfielder. I'm not quite sure what kind of a midfielder he is. So we still need a DM. And my very long-winded point here is and I've said this before on the show, actually. I've said it. Thank you, JK. I saw that. And I should just go on longer now to punish you. I said this on the Chelsea Echo, which I was invited onto yesterday with the lovely Louis and Tom. But I wonder if there's a place for Reece James here longer term as our basically our defensive midfielder, the guy who sits in front of the back four. Because with all those injuries that he's had, I cannot in good conscience see him being a wing back, herring up and down the pitch. Because I don't think he's got the. I mean, I think he's just too fucked. But if he sits in front of the back four, he's got everything. He did it at Wigan. You know, he's got the skill to do it, the football brain to do it. He can tackle. He can pass. Why the fuck not? What do you reckon?
Isn't the kid Romeo Lavia that we spent bundles on a defensive midfielder? Answers on he is.
Yeah,
he is. So, yeah, I don't know. There's kind of a clutch of players on that treatment table who, if they ever get fit, and that includes Reece James.
Well, yeah.
Who, you know, suddenly we're surfing on a sea of different possibilities, aren't we? If some of those players come back, but then we'll probably get, knowing Chelsea being Chelsea, we'll probably get a different set of players going on the treatment table. So we never quite get a full complement of fit players in the squad. But yeah, I think Reece James is versatile enough to compete in that position. I mean, Malagusto obviously was out. I mean, you know, to my mind, Gusto's been that good that it's kind of negated, you know, almost the relevance of Reece James in that position. He's been that good this season, and you know, considering he's only 20, and if we wouldn't have known much about him if Reece hadn't kept getting injured, because he wouldn't have got a game. So it's kind of interesting, isn't it, at Chelsea, where players get opportunities. So I don't know. You know what Lavia's played. I just don't know.
Well, if he can stay, I mean, it's that I don't know. I mean, it's.
I actually think it wouldn't surprise me if Reece James is sold as the solution to Chelsea's financial mismanagement potentially.
Well,
I just wonder, you know, Thiago Silva leaving Chelsea says a lot, and I know he wants to go to Fluminense and all of that.
Fluminense.
Yeah, but you know, there is a reason why players, if somebody like Reece James left Chelsea, that tells you all you need to know about the way the club's being run, the way it's being managed, and a lot of other things. And I wouldn't rule it out. And you know, and the same goes obviously for Conor Gallagher.
Well,
although you'd like to think that Conor Gallagher would pull out, make a statement in the same way the wonderful Joe Cole did when he was offered to Tottenham and he said, "I couldn't do that."
Well,
So,
indeed.
And given that Connor's a Chelsea boy,
we're not going to see the wonderful God, I forgot his name, our ex-winger, Timo Werner, on Thursday, I think, because he did something to his hamstring in the game at the weekend. So we won't get the opportunity to sing the song and him to be confused because him thinking that we love him, whereas in actual fact they just like singing the song. But I was listening to briefly went on
Derby.
Sorry, say again. Sorry, what was it?
Pochettino Derby.
Yes, indeed. I went on to Inter Milan playing. Don't know why it came up on TNT. I think I've been watching because the Chelsea game had been on, and they were singing a version of it. I kept thinking, everybody loves that song, don't they? All around the world, and as a football
Good old
song.
Depeche Mode, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about Gallagher, and I said we'd talk about him earlier on, didn't I? And we really should do because, I mean, you know, technically, I suppose playing out position did very well. Although, you know, Poch did put Cucurella in there, and that actually changed it. And I think what it did was it got Connor further up the pitch, which I think is clearly where he's much better. And he scored an absolute cracking goal on his wrong foot.
Wrong foot, wonderful goal, wonderful. Yeah,
scored a cracking goal on his wrong foot. Of course, he hasn't got any technical ability at all because he's a cart horse and a Labrador, according to the experts on social media. I was listening to Talk Sport today. I know, bless me, Father, I have sinned. But Danny Murphy was absolutely raving about Connor. He was saying, you know, considering how shit the season's been for us, you know, he's only 24. He's been, you know, he's got the captain's armband in a very tricky situation, but he never gives up. He always gives everything else. He leaves it all out there. You know, he's good enough. He's good enough. And if they sell him, it'll be a complete folly. And he was saying that with Silva going, who else have you got? He also very tellingly said, if Chelsea, well, you know, would he get into Man City or Arsenal? Answer, probably no. If Chelsea were going for the title this year, would he get in the team? Answer, probably no. Well, the reality is we don't know. And then somebody, I think it was Darren Lewis of all people, came back and said, yeah, Danny, Liverpool supporting Murphy. You can say that about Connor, but what about Jordan Henderson? Much derided by all and sundry. Oh, he's not very good. He can't run. He's got no technique. La 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 la. And look at the career he had at Liverpool. Absolutely instrumental in winning a lot of the silverware that they won. And love him or loathe him, he's been a fixture in the England side. So, you know, the bottom line is to have a great team takes all sorts. Look at Nobby Stiles in 1966, JK. You know, great teams are what win titles, not great individuals. And Connor, surely to fucking God, has a place in this team, or Clearlake are completely stupid.
I was just wondering whether that you could compare him with Didier Deschamps, who they called him the water carrier, but what they meant by that was that he was the kind of instrumental cement in the side that would hold the ball up put people in and never stop running and always be there as an out ball for somebody, and which is established that Connor runs more than anybody else, and further than anybody else. So he's pretty indispensable. The trouble is, it's a bit like Colin Bell. I'm sorry to go back miles for people to understand, but he wasn't a show pony. He just got on with it and did an enormous number of tasks that were necessary to gel the side. And I think that Connor contributes that for this team. The trouble is we're very used to wanting to see a star performer in the same way that Cole Palmer is. We want to see that. You don't get that from Connor. You get industry, you get effort, and just a constant. He never stops trying. So what we're not seeing, we don't see that in some of the other more flamboyant players, but they're still essential for a winning side. So
it's interesting that Pochettino's entrusted him with the captaincy.
Yeah.
He plays pretty much every game. I mean, I don't know the stats, but has he got more minutes this season than anybody else in that?
Pretty much. Disasi would run him close. Actually, he's played a lot of minutes this year.
But I mean, Pochettino clearly rates him. So what does that say? If the owners undermine the manager by deciding which players get sold for their own selfish purposes, then we're in desperate straits as a football club. But you can see that as a potential eventuality.
But aren't we being a bit ignorant? I mean, unknowing here. If Mason Mount is part of the, say it's 100 million, they keep telling us it's this figure. If Mason Mount's fee is part of this season, and they're going to sell Maatsen for 35 million, which looks as if it's on the cards because he's got I think a buyout, a clause in with Dortmund.
Well, he wants to stay there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they've got 95.
The Gallagher thing is contractual, though, isn't it? So part of the issue with Gallagher is contractual. He's not signed.
I see what you mean. But he may not want to stay himself. We're suggesting.
Hang on, whoa! Pause, rewind, chaps. Yeah, he's got a year left on his contract. They've been spooked by what happened with Rudiger and Christensen just as they were taking over, because they ran their contracts down and they lost out on selling assets, which is going to wind them up, as you can imagine. They don't ever want it to happen again. So, you could say that they want to get rid of him because they either don't want him or they don't see him signing a contract. But it's chicken and fucking egg, isn't it? They haven't offered him a contract that he's prepared to sign because it's derisory. That's the point. He's basically been our captain this season in the absence of Reece James. He's put in most minutes. He's one of. I mean, he's arguably, if Palmer hadn't have done the amazing things he's done, I would have said he would be a shoo-in for player of the season. Offer him a decent contract, you stupid muppets. It's not hard.
But isn't it the Mason Mount situation all over again, Chidge? Isn't it?
I don't think it's
lower contract with less money, but it's down to incentives, isn't it? That's what they've tried to sign.
Well, that's what they're trying to get everybody on. But I mean, Mount's was very, very peculiar because, of course, Mount had a contract agreement pre Win Stanley coming in, and then they didn't want to sign it because he went to the World Cup, so he didn't want to be thinking about that when he went to the World Cup. He came back and they'd torn up the contract agreement that he had and gave him another one that was shit. And then he got all kind of weird about image rights and stuff. And then he got a new agent who probably queered the pitch even more. I think it's a little bit different with Gallagher, from what I understand. Although I know we have rich moneymakers who will no doubt brief us on what's going on. But I don't know. I mean, we know that they're trying to offload him for the right price, which is about 55 million. And Spurs and Newcastle are apparently interested. But it would just be folly. It would be fucking folly, particularly at a time when you're losing somebody like Thiago, who we'll get onto in a minute. I don't know.
I think the danger is it's kind of, Conor Gallagher. Oh, I'm tempting fate here. Cole Palmer's another one. They're not made of glass like some of the lads around them. They're good. They're solid. Gallagher is never going to be Frank Lampard, but he's kind of indefatigable in the same way, and doesn't really get injured that much. You need if we're going to have a consistently successful team in terms of stringing results together, there needs to be a spine to that team, and they're the players that you can rely on getting 80% of the games that the team plays. Those guys will be in the team and in the starting 11, and until we've got more than 2 or 3 players that fit that bill, we're going to continue to have these erratic games. That game against Villa sums the season up, doesn't it? It's kind of the lack of communication and understanding at key moments in the game causes problems, and part of that reason is that players aren't playing together as often as they could. Caicedo looks, I think he's potentially another one that could be solid for a season, which is good news. But the rest of the team's kind of
leaves a bit to be desired, doesn't it?
You just sit and hope, don't you?
You do. I mean, Marco, you made a point about Poch a minute ago. The fact that he clearly wants Gallagher and clearly rates him. I mean, one of the things I've been really pleased with this week, and JK has probably been all over this like a rash with his JK's presser summary hat on, but Poch has been showing some fight in the pressers, hasn't he? He's been pushing back against Winstanley and Stewart and the ownership, and the fact that he needs to have a say in what's going on. And he's clearly, I do not have the keys to the club, he said. And then and I have to say, what I saw on the touchline against Villa also pleased me. He was emotional. He was passionate. There's a bit of fight coming out with him. And I kind of wonder, I mean, it's about bloody time. I'm delighted to see it. It's what I want to see in a manager. But I'm wondering if there's a sense with Poch that it's shit or bust for him. It's kind of like he knows that he's got a chance of getting the tin tack, so it doesn't matter anymore. So he's just going to he's not going to be diplomatic anymore. He's going to say what he thinks. And he's kind of like taken the shackles off himself in a way.
Yeah, I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head there. We've got 4 games. Is it 4 games or 5 games left this season? And if you look at the criticism that came his way, and rightly so, in terms of his in-game management in the League Cup final, there have been those queries which align to the lack of empathy with supporters and apparent lack of passion. All of those things mixed together, along with erratic results, and it doesn't augur well for the future. And maybe he's kind of has got to that point where he's thinking, well, I've only got another year left on my contract here, so what the fuck am I going to do next season? If come by the end of October or November, if it's been another erratic start to the season, he's not going to. The club's in ruin again, because we're going to have to change the manager mid-season potentially, or what happens with the project and all that nonsense. So I don't know. You just don't know with Chelsea, do you? I mean, if it can somehow sneak through the back door into the Europa Conference League, at least it provides a few extra games to play to get some consistency there. But it's I don't know. The fact that we're having this conversation just tells you how far things have fallen.
It does in a way, doesn't it? Because I mean, I don't be interested to hear what Jonathan thinks about this. But we've talked about this a fair bit, haven't we, mate? You know, getting rid of him means we have to start all over again. You know, and who's to say that we won't have to? It's almost going back to square one. But it will affect how the team plays. It'll affect. I mean, you know, the reality for me is that I know it always seems horrible at the moment, and I do have a feeling that's down to all sorts of other things going on as well. But actually, the reality is we have improved this season. We have improved this season. There are players that have broken through who look like they could be Chelsea players. Cole Palmer, Gusto, to name but two. I think Gallagher's proved that as well. Chalobah coming back has been a revelation. Moises has shown that he can be a player for us. Jackson, in spite of the fact he can't hit a cow's arse with a banjo, looks like he is a player. You know, I think there's been substantive improvement if one looks at it, you know, with a more objective eye, JK. So I think getting rid of Poch is possibly going to retard that process again.
But they've been encouraging us, haven't they, to look at this as the dreadful word, a project, and it's their youngsters, and it's going to get better. And he has somehow managed to get an improvement in them, despite being thumped by an excellent Arsenal side who were thumping everybody. So I suppose you can understand, and they're not don't quite have the mentality yet to deal with that. But a performance like that against Villa, I mean, I have to say, I think Villa contributed to it, but we played so well that they just couldn't get out of their own half, really. But it was a very passive performance from them, given that they're such a terrific side on the break. But we stifled all of that, which was very commendable. So yeah, it was as I said, it's if everybody can play to that level next season, if Madueke can be the handful that he was.
There's another one I think could be a player. Yeah.
Every game, if he can be the handful that he was, and also, well, he's slightly mad as well, like Jackson, but let's see whether he can keep that under control. But if he can play as well as that in nearly every game and be you know, difficult as well as Saka is for Arsenal, you just look at them and think he consistently beats his fullback, gets a crossing, consistently gets to the byline, consistently has an opportunity to get it onto his left foot and slam it in the same way that if Madueke can actually manage to play at that level, and I don't see why he shouldn't, because he played at that level on Saturday, you've got your winger. So it's almost like been a series of experiments that he's had to do, which he gives somebody a go. They're not very good. He takes them off, brings them on as a sub. They're a high-powered sub. They do well. He gives them a start. They're not very good. He gives them it comes back as a sub, and then gives them a start, and they're pretty good. He's actually they've had to go through the ringer themselves to see if they can improve and play at this standard in the Premier League. And I think he's done it. I think Caicedo is now getting to the level that we thought he would be from the beginning, and he has to be. There was a wonderful moment where he got injured. He got really kicked, and we were all worried he was going to go off. And within seconds, he did a last-ditch tackle, having given the ball away, and got the ball and distributed it beautifully. And we just thought, well, that, you know, he wouldn't have done that 3 months ago. He'd have just given the ball away and fallen over. So they are progressing. And as I say, the one person I can't believe that we're saying is playing out of his skin is Cucurella, who we were all willing to dispense with immediately because he was so dreadful. And yet we knew he wasn't originally dreadful because he played so well against us on several occasions. So it's whether this is it's just waiting for them to gel is what we're having to deal with. And Pochettino is seeing the consequences of his efforts. But as you say, I'm actually worried that he will, having gone 3 paces forwards and saying, yes, we need new players in the summer, and some of them aren't committed, and some of them we need to work out whether they're motivated or the right kind of player for Chelsea Football Club, will then in the next press conference go back and say, no, I can't make any decision without talking to the football panel, the what do they call them, the gurus, it's a question whether he gets told off. As you say, he's being more bullish about everything, but at the same time he does then become slightly reticent about what he said in the very next presser. So let's see what he comes forward with again this week before the Spuds game on Wednesday.
I mean, this is absolutely massive for Pochettino, this game.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about it in part 2. But before we do that, it would be totally remiss of us. I'm just blocking a Man United fan. Sorry, hang on a minute. Oh, I nearly blocked Nathan. That would have been terrible. Bye, motherfucker. Gone. Yeah, it would be really, remiss of us not to pay rightful homage to the wonderful Thiago Silva, and I will say this: obrigado e adios to Thiago, because I don't know if you saw it. I mean, we did actually, because we were talking about it in WhatsApp, weren't we? But mate, I shed a tear watching that video he made, man. It was so emotional, JK, wasn't it?
He was great, wasn't he? He was just
he loves us.
Yeah. And it's his thing about wanting to come back in the future in some way, which I suppose so many of them want to do. It's difficult, isn't it? Because so many coaches have their own teams. You almost need to be attached to somebody else's team, unless he comes back as a youth coach in some way. I think that's more of an area of access. I mean, it's interesting that his sons play for Chelsea, don't they? So his connection will be still stuck in England, I think, even if he goes to Fluminense. I'm not
kids are playing for the club, aren't they?
That's what I just said. I don't think his family.
They were on the bench. They were on the bench against Villa.
Yeah. I don't. They weren't really, though, were they?
Mate, if you say JK, you legend. I'll tell you what, mate. We didn't really bother talking about this earlier on, but let me tell you who was on the bench for us. This is frightening. Ready?
Dyer was one of them.
Hang on. Aki Ompong.
Yeah.
Shush, let me tell you. Aki Ompong, Bettinelli, we know him. Cassidy, we know him. Kurd. Washington, we know him. Dizazi, we know him. Dyer, I'm desperately wanting it to be Kieran Dyer, but it's not. Gilchrist and Tyreek. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, if you include Gilchrist, academy players on the bench. Mad. Absolutely mad. So sadly, no other Silvers. You were, in fact, right, JK.
I only thought, well, no, but there, I think he's going to make his home in London, isn't he? Whether even if he plays briefly for Brazil at a Brazilian team, his little lip kept quivering all the way through the video, and he was in
tears too, wasn't he, man? He loves us. He loves us, man.
And also, what he said, a very interesting phrase, wasn't he? He said, "One of the best teams in the world," he said, and this is something that should be emblazoned on the foreheads of Winstanley and Stewart and all the owners, because this is what he joined, was one of the best teams in the world, and we don't want them fucking it up. Really, my goodness, can't have that. Can't have one of the best teams in the world, but finishing 12th every year. Don't think so.
Indeed, Marco. I had a horrible thought about Thiago Silva, and please, do pay him the due tribute that you would wish to do. But my question is really, he could be the last world-class player we sign for a long time, because he was world-class and we signed him.
Yeah, I mean, that was a Frank Lampard, wasn't he? He came in on a free when Frank was the manager. And he came from PSG to win the Champions League. But yeah, I just everything about him as a player and as a person kind of epitomizes what you want when you go out and he came for nothing, but when you go out and sign a player for Chelsea who's experienced, that's what you want them to bring to the football club. And that is what he did very capably, almost like in a Marcel Desailly kind of way, where, Desailly brought along young John Terry. And, I think you mentioned earlier, Badiashile looked a half-decent centre-back playing next to Thiago Silva, unlike when he's playing alongside other centre-backs. Yeah. But, I don't know. They're rare beasts, players like that come in and have such an influence in the football club. You know, I think Gianfranco Zola was another one who came in the twilight of his career and significant influence. Ruud Gullit, you know, these are kind of global talents in the game who chose to come and play their football at the end of their career with Chelsea, which says a lot for our football club. But you know, it's kind of like watching that game or watching Arsenal, as we have, you know, I have done over the last few weeks. And you look at Declan Rice and what he's brought to that football club. And, you know, I talk to my gunner mates and they're just saying, you know, he is the reason why we are where we are at the moment, because he's just brought that leadership, understanding, and just general wherewithal to their football club. And, you know, and our loss is their gain. But we need to find another player who's going to galvanise the dressing room and be communicative, have empathy with supporters. We need that player. I don't know who that is.
It'll be Dan Burn. It'll be from Brighton, along with Deserve.
Newcastle.
Sorry, I don't mean. What's the other one? Dunk. Sorry, Dunk.
Yeah,
Dunk.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Dunk.
That is both of them together. Yeah.
That is a huge heart-shaped hole that's leaving the football club this summer. And I don't know who. There's nobody at the club that's going to fill that hole, that's got the experience or, you know, the credibility with his peer group. You know, I mean, it's not Raheem Sterling, is it? I don't know who are the senior players at that football club. There's nobody there where you're going, well, yeah, it's all going to come down to him. And yeah, I know, you know, we love Conor Gallagher and he's Chelsea through and through, but he might not be there in August. So I don't know. It would be an absolute shocking state of affairs if we go through this next transfer window and don't bring somebody into the club that brings a whole lot of experience with them. I don't know. Who knows?
It's a tough one, Marco, isn't it? And as I said, I fear that he could be the last world-class player we signed for a long, long time. You know, ready-made, established world-class player. The kind of players we've been signing, I mean, actually, you know, arguably since, as you said, since Hoddle's time, but certainly throughout Roman's time. And I think that's very sad. But I think most important of all, you know, we've been privileged, haven't we, to see a player like Thiago Silva play for our club. And it's not just because of what he does on the pitch. There's the way he threw, you know, we've said this for years because we've been following this club for years. And there's something about this mad old club that gets into players' skins. The number of ex-players that we've all met. I mean, Kenny Swain's a perfect example. You know, he's an Everton boy. He wasn't here. He didn't play for us for that long. He won the European Cup at Aston Villa in 82, 81, whenever it was. And yet he loves this club. He loves this club. When we did that Troubadour gig with him, it was just so clear how much he loved that club. So many ex-players you meet, you wouldn't think were Chelsea, and we just get under their skin. And to see somebody like Thiago Silva do that, and to see Bella standing in the away ends. I mean, you know, Mark and I met her, didn't we, at Spurs? He's a special guy, and he's been brilliant for us. I love him to pieces, and I'm not ashamed to say I teared up watching that video. So, well, Thiago Silva, thank you so much. You've been an absolute fucking legend. He really has. And on that wonderfully articulate speech by me, I think it's time we had a lie down and a break, which we're going to do. And then we will be back for the preview of the Chelsea versus Spurs match.
A bit more.
Real fans, real opinions.
I'm Jason Cundy, and you're listening to Chidge and the boys on the Chelsea Football Fancast. Total nutters and proper Chelsea.
Footballfancast.com.
Welcome back. I'm Stamford Chidge. This is the Chelsea Fancast, and I'm joined by Jonathan Kydd, who's in fact buggered off to go and eat more cake because it was his birthday at the weekend. So, like he needs more sugar, I don't know. So, Marco, you and I will have to hold the fort until His Eminence returns, graces us with our presence. How are you, dear boy?
Very good, very good. Looking
Good.
forward to Thursday night.
Yeah, aren't we all? Before we get into that, though, it seems a very good time to introduce the concept of this, something that you will be very familiar with, Marco. There we go. Recognise that?
Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed. It is the CFC UK fanzine. We just talked about Thiago Silva being world class. The fanzine is world class, not least because Marco Worrall writes for it, don't you, Marco?
New issue out on Thursday, still only £1. What can you buy for £1?
No, well, you buy the CFC UK for a start. So new issues out Thursday because this is April's we got up there.
Yeah, it's the May edition that's out on Thursday, and it is the last one of the season.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Now, you lovely people, that's a good reminder actually to tell you that you can get your subscription if you can't make the matches and pick it up, before a game, like many of us do. You can still get it. You can get it posted to you, a hard copy posted to you every issue throughout the season, or even get it emailed to you as a PDF, a digital file. Now, to subscribe, this is a good time to subscribe. Get it in before next season starts. So you go to Fanzine at cfcuk.net and you let Dave know that you want to subscribe, and then you pay via PayPal. 20 quid in the UK, 45 quid in Europe, 60 quid in the rest of the world. It's 6 quid for a digital copy, or £1 each, of course. And as I said, you pay via PayPal. Marco, quickly, what's yours on next month?
It's entitled "The Law of Diminishing Returns."
Oh, economics.
An economic slant to it.
Yes, the more you want more of it. Or the less you have, the more you want less. I can't remember. It's a long time since I did an economics degree. You'd never believe I had an economics degree, would you? But I do. I do. I do. I've got a degree in economics, maths, physics, and bionics.
Are you my perfect cousin?
I am. That's right. I was going to say, name that tune, but you beat me to it. So, yeah, come on then. What's it about? The law of diminishing returns.
What, my article?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, essentially, it's about adding. If you keep adding into a machine, sooner or later, you kind of reach saturation point and productivity tails off. So you don't get the full value of what you're investing into a business.
You're talking about buying lots of young players.
Well, I mean, it does fit somewhat. So it's not a negative article. It's just kind of a statement of fact that after 2 years, we've kind of gone. Feels like we've gone 3 steps forward, 2 steps to the side, 3 steps back. We just feels rudderless. Doesn't, we've kind of set sail in this new direction, but it just doesn't feel quite right at the moment. And that's all the way through the club, in my opinion. Can it change? Of course it can. Does it look like it's changing? We see glimpses of it on the pitch. And the hope is that, obviously we want it to gel and the team to grow and to be successful again. But it just feels like, I don't know, just that little bit out of reach. You see the way other clubs are organised, the way their teams are performing. We've fallen down 1 or 2 rungs of the ladder.
It's a long way back, isn't it?
Well, it's hard, you know. It is hard. I mean, it's like my local team, Sutton United, who've had a few seasons in League Two, got relegated back to the whatever it's called now, the National League, and that's just going to be it's brutal, a brutal league to get out of. It's like the Championship, and I just think now, you know, there's a lot of deluded Chelsea supporters out there who think we've got a divine right to, you know, be in the Champions League places all the time. You've got to earn.
They're called Todd Bowley and Baghdad Egbali.
But you've really got to earn the right to be there. You know, and you know, everybody jokes about Chelsea, you know, only being formed in 2003 when Mr. Abramovich bought the football club. But there was a lot. There was the you know, if you can trace that the seeds of that success was sown when Hoddle came to Chelsea, and we all know, you know, that evolution, and that's kind of just feels like all of that's been blown out of the water. We've got a new strategy which not everybody's sold on. But the big difference is there is a lot of other clubs now who are well organised, and whereas you know, when Chelsea really started to make inroads, it was Arsenal and Man United who were who had the duopoly on, you know, where the title went, and it's different now. You know, there's a lot more big cats feeding.
Yeah, there are. Well, I look forward to reading that. I won't be there on Thursday, so I'll have to pick it up at West Ham. Mine is called "Now Is the Winter of Our Discontent," and it's about you what?
But it's summer.
Yeah, but it's about Henry Winter.
Oh, I see. Did he get sacked?
Made redundant.
Oh, right.
But it's basically about I managed to conflate, you know, Henry being basically an old man in a new environment, a new game, and maybe us lot are also a bit like King Canute, and actually the game's changing and it's not really for us anymore. I mean, I didn't really say this, but I mean, if you can get rid of Henry Winter, then you can get rid of anything, because Henry is the closest you got in this generation to a doyen of football journalists, a word I mentioned several times in my article. Anyway, enough. We've got one more plug to do before we talk about the Spurs game, and it is JK CPO.
The Chelsea pitch owners PLC.
Chelsea pitch owners pledge. That's the one.
Chelsea pitch owners, hooray!
Right, as you are old enough to remember this,
like Paul McAvoy.
He does sound like Paul McAvoy, doesn't it? JK, you're old enough to. I'm going to give you the age before swine thing, whatever it is. Tell us all about the CPO and how you can get one and what it's all about.
Well, you get one of those because you can prevent anybody getting the club, buying the club from a pitch point of view. You get one of those things. If you give them money, give them £100, and you get a signed one. It's far more fucking expensive, so I wouldn't get one of them. So what I suggest you do is get one of them pitch things, and it'll be great for the club. Okay, good.
I'm gonna clip that out, and we'll just do that in future. Okay, the the preferred version, if only by me, is that yes, basically it gives you a say. If any, you know, I know I can hardly speak after that lunacy. If you have a Chelsea pitch owners share, you get a vote basically to make sure that the ground is protected from being sold from under us. And if the club want to do anything with it, rebuild it, move it, whatever, they have to basically make sure that the CPO votes the right way. So at the very least, you get some voice, some power, some influence, which is a good thing. 110 quid for an electronic share. And if you want a signed one against Jonathan's advice, it's about 175 quid. Go to chelseafc.com and search for Chelsea pitch owners, and you can find one there. Right. About bloody time. But it's now time for Chidge's team selection,
Ooh,
which is
ooh, ooh, ooh,
here.
I love that.
Ta-da!
Hey! Oh God, Mudrik's playing.
Well, okay, I'm going to explain. Because I clearly owe you an explanation. Well, I've gone for basically the same team that started against Spurs. And my reasoning is this: Cucurella deserves a start because he played well. Silva and Badiashile I wouldn't normally pick, but thought he did all right against Villa, so I think he's earned the right. And I think maybe, I picked Gilchrist, didn't I? I had Silva and Chaloba together. Trevo did a good job at right back, as we all knew he would. And I just don't think that that Poch trusts Gilchrist, and he got absolutely rinsed against Arsenal. So maybe he's protecting him. But I wouldn't be unhappy to see that back four. I mean, I'll admit I'm not happy to see Badiashile anywhere near the team, but he did all right. So that's me back four plus Petrovic in goal. No Enzo, no Ugumaka, whatever his name is, no Chukwuemeka, no Lavia. So you've got Gallagher and Enzo. I mean, you could put Cassidy in, but you're not going to put Cassidy in a game like this when he's only bringing him on in the 85th minute for most games. So Gallagher and Moises get the nod. Now we have. I made the same argument the other day, didn't I? How on earth can you pick Mudryk and therefore leave Chelsea basically playing with 10 men? I know you're all saying it in the chat room. You're all having a go, and I don't. I agree with you, but we are down to the bare bones, Harry. We're down to the bare bones. Sterling is injured, so he's not going to play. Chukwuemeka's injured, so you couldn't put him in as the number 10. Put Jackson on the left. And then or Palmer up the front, those are the kind of combinations we're talking about. So pretty much, as far as our front four are concerned, that's who we've got. So I just don't see any other. Chidge out, says Dean Mears. You can fuck off, son. Anyway,
isn't Silva injured?
He did pick up a knock, but I think he's okay. I mean, remember this is Monday and the game's not until Thursday, so we don't know. That's the trouble. We've got no information, to my knowledge, unless you know something I don't.
No, I thought that was why he was tearful as well, that he couldn't. He was only going to come back for the last game of the season if he was fit.
Well, then we're going to have Dizazi and Badiashile in the back, and you can expect that's where we're at. Yeah, I mean, they're saying that he's 50-50, so this is worrying me even more. I mean, fucking hell. This is my preferred 11 apart from Mudryk. But I don't see any other way round it unless you bring Cassidy in, which I don't see happening. You bring Washington in, which I don't see happening. It's we are. I mean, 12 out injured. It's mad how bad this season has been for injuries. But I think that is the best. I mean, Mudryk accepted. I don't see any other options. I really don't see any other options, JK.
I have to agree with you. I can't. Nobody's coming to mind. Oh God, I can't remember any of the names of our team. Oh God, my birthday has been one birthday too far for me. Is Chilwell fit?
No,
he's not. He's injured as well. Blimey. Yeah. Because I thought he could have then stepped in as a guy, because he played him as winger a few times, didn't he? He could step in. But
the only person who can play instead of Mudryk is Jackson. And then you have to figure out who can come in and play number 10 and or number 9.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be prone to do that, does he? He likes to play Jackson up front I find as the out man, he doesn't really do. I mean, he's got better actually, because he shrugs. He sort of learned to lean in and elbow a bit more, because he got so pushed over all the time, didn't he? Particularly that Luton game where he was all he did was look as if he would claim for fouls. He still does that quite a lot, but not in the same ludicrous way, never having contributed anything with the ball. But he keeps picking him for that spot. So I fear I may have to agree with you completely, Chidge. I can't see anybody else could come in. But what's the situation with Gusto? Is he
injured?
Still injured?
He's, I think, there's a bit of vagueness, but he should be back for West Ham, but he might be fit for Thursday.
Oh right, what Gusto?
Yeah.
Okay, well that doesn't solve the left wing problem or further up the pitch, but I see the thing is, Marco, I know everybody clamours to have the youth playing. I mean, Leo Castledine, understandably, is getting a mention by rich moneymakers, and Tyreek's been mentioned in dispatches before that. But I can't see Pochettino or many managers, apart from Jose Mourinho, oddly, throwing in youngsters who've never played a first team game for Chelsea into the hotbed of a Chelsea Spurs derby.
I mean, I think you said it yourself earlier. It was unfortunate that Alfie Gilchrist got basically thrown to the Lions, didn't he, against Arsenal.
Yeah.
I think you've pretty much nailed it there in terms of the way Pochettino cannot lose this game. He cannot. In his head, his world will end if he loses this game.
Damn right.
And I've got a good feeling. I think there's going to be a stack of goals because Tottenham are as erratic as Chelsea. And I think Chelsea
they played with great application against Arsenal. Actually, I was impressed because I thought if we'd played with that energy against Arsenal, we could have put them under the same pressure. But we don't seem to be able to do that. We did that more in the second half against Villa, but they started off really, really on top of the Gooners. I mean, they really pressed them. And in fact, both goals they scored were typical of a club that's doing very well in the league. They were against the run of play, really. And I thought they were very unlucky, Tottenham, not to get a draw at least.
JK, that's a good point you mentioned there because, Spurs they're more bonkers than we are. But they are dangerous. But I don't know what you think about this, but I actually think, playing Villa is actually not a bad warm up for playing Spurs. I mean, I know that Spurs play a higher line than Grandmaster Flash. That's a joke that you might not get. But anyway, they play a very high.
It's a drug reference, isn't it?
It is a drug reference. Yeah. Well done, JK. Excuse me, is that a drug reference, Mr. Chidge? Yes. Anyway, they do. They play a very high line, higher than anybody else, and certainly higher than Villa. But they're very kind of counter-attack-ish, aren't they? That they like hit you quick and fast, and that's what Villa like to do. So maybe that might help us out. And also, arguably a similar level. They're the ones that are duking it out for the top four, aren't they? So, you would expect them to be a similar level. I mean, the key issue for me is twofold. Can we maintain the standard that we set in the second half against Villa, number one? And can we exploit their high line without leaving ourselves open at the back, JK?
Well, who knows? They haven't got the bloke who was sent off. What was his name? He's not playing for them. Can't remember his name. The one who kicked out at
Romero.
No. Romero was actually Romero's been playing. I'm intrigued actually because Romero is from the Argentina. He's a World Cup winner, isn't he? Playing with much more energy than Enzo has been. And once again, is it down to the injury? And also, is Enzo too young? But Romero is more of the kind of purchase I think that we thought we'd be getting with Enzo. He really runs the game for them. He's their best player, Romero, and he's a dirty fucker, which Enzo doesn't appear to have in his makeup. It doesn't seem to. He gets booked mostly for the odd little trip and descent. I don't know. Their saving grace for them, which is the pressing and getting forward, maybe they're undoing, Chidge, as you say, because they do play a high line and if we're competent enough to run down it's Ugodi, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. Who's not playing? Who's injured? Udogie, yeah, Udogie, not Ugodi. Udogie.
How much is Udogie in the transfer window?
Indeed, very good, very good. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Been said before.
I mean, it's the kind of game, despite them having played so well, that if we once again, it's down to us playing as well as we played against Villa. It's down as us to get, not as we played against Arsenal. As we played against City in most of the cup final, except we didn't score. And the same way we played City earlier, and we played City in both league games. That's the team you want. That's the energy you want. That's the desire you want. But will that turn up? I mean, who knows? Does Poch come up with something to deal with it? Will, if it is Badiashile and Disasi, it could be as terrible as the Arsenal game. This is the trouble with this season. You want them to perform at that high level that they perform occasionally. And will it happen? I don't know. I've got no clue.
It's a real toughie. I mean, Marco, what worries me about Spurs, after the way that they were, they were the victims of their own downfall at White Hart Lane back in October or whenever it was. So lucky to be there that night. In a sense, they might feel that they were robbed a bit, 2 sendings off, made to look like idiots. They might be really angry about that and seriously out for revenge, which kind of worries me a little bit. And the other thing that worries me, given that, we all know what this means. You don't lose to Tottenham. I mean, you were there, I think, down in Bournemouth I think it was after Mourinho got the tin tack, I think. And, all the 1,500 Chelsea supporters were probably the most menacing I've heard them in many a year, screaming at the players, beat fucking Tottenham, you better beat fucking Tottenham. They actually visibly were shaking as they left the pitch, and they were left under no illusion about how important this match is. And I just wonder, will the current set of players, and in fact the manager who used to manage Tottenham, get how important this is, that you cannot lose to Tottenham at home. We've only lost once to Tottenham in 31 matches in the Premier League, and it goes 2 years before that, doesn't it? I mean, the record. I've got some stats here. I haven't got many stats because there's nothing on the game at the moment. We have won in the Premier League at home. We've won 19 out of 31 matches and drawn 11 out of 31 matches and only lost one, and that was the Dele Alli double that buggered us under. I think Conte when he'd thrown his toys out of the pram after that, wasn't it? So, will they get it? Will Tottenham be out for some revenge?
I don't know. I think Tottenham, obviously, you look at the table and they've had a better season than Chelsea, but that's a basket case of a team in for the same reasons as Chelsea. You kind of, I don't know, the Ange ball, as they call it, they're all champion, the Tottenham fans, but it's I don't know, it just looks, it's just disorganised. I think teams that are very well organised see straight through that and undo the high line very, very easily. But this is probably the least easiest game to predict between Chelsea and Tottenham in terms of predicting a scoreline. I'll tell you one thing: it ain't going to be 0-0.
It's got 0-0 written all over it. Probably. Who knows? Yeah. Oh,
but yeah, I don't know. It could get quite ugly in the stadium if things don't go well for Chelsea, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's still got that potential, hasn't it? Because, quite understandably, football supporters are very much in the moment. I certainly am. And as JK was saying earlier, it was getting ugly when we were 2-0 down up at Villa. But thankfully,
We want our Chelsea back was being
Yeah. It was beginning, wasn't it? And then of course they turned it around and everything changes.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're 2-0 down to Spurs at half time, I can see the mood being poisonous, to say the least.
I can kind of see like a Chelsea Man United game all over again here, hopefully with the same outcome.
Yeah.
But not that journey. The journey to victory can't be as flip-floppish as that.
Yeah, it could be, couldn't it?
What you want in this game on Thursday for all of us who are going to be there, and all the Chelsea supporters out there are going to be cheering on Chelsea, watching it on TV, everybody in blue around the world. What you want to see is the stars align for Pochettino in this one game where every fucking thing drops into place and we beat those bastards 5-0.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you want from a Chelsea team. You know, we dismantled Everton and won 6-0. You know, can you imagine? That would be it. You know, the season could end on Thursday night if we do that, and the cash in the bank that, you know, and goodwill that would come out of that would last, you know, at least 2 weeks. Chelsea being Chelsea, but no. But seriously, I just think that is what we need to see happen. That will provide belief that there's understanding of what games like this mean. There's kind of the general direction of travel. There's proof of concept. It all works. Now we just have to make it happen week in, week out. All of those good things can come from a comprehensive victory on Thursday, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think, you know, this is the most important match for Pochettino this, you know, since his tenure. For me, it really is, because, you know, we have to beat, or at least not lose, to Tottenham. He's got so many supporters who still are not having him because of his Tottenham links. You know, if we spank Spurs with Pochettino at the helm, I think it could be the turning point for him, actually. I mean, I was thinking, and I'm going to ask you in a minute, actually, I was thinking about, because we can't do they played for both because we've already done it, and anyway, the site's down, so I can't.
I've forgotten. I was going
I
to
know, but the site's down as well, so I can't.
Can I give you a few now, just for the hell of it?
No, because I want to talk about something else. Something
Let's
else.
Bobby Smith, Terry Venables.
I shall mute you. You're on a sugar warning here. All right. Yeah, I was thinking about some of our favourite Chelsea Spurs matches at the Bridge over time, and as a slight tangent to that, you know, Shevchenko, who was a barely walking disaster for us, scored an absolute screamer against Spurs, which makes you forgive everything about him. Giuliano Belletti becomes a cult hero for spanking in a 40-yarder against Spurs. William Gallas's last-minute goal. I mean, you know, there are players of mediocre ability who have played for this club who have become cult heroes because they've scored spectacular goals or match saving. George Weah in the last minute in 2000. I mean, he played about 4 games with us. Bjarni Goldbeck. I mean, I could go on and on and on. You know, mediocre.
None of these players, none of them was mediocre.
No, but you know what I mean. I mean, they're not players who you would say, oh yeah, he was a legend at the club. They had a small cameo in it, but because they scored against Spurs, their status is exalted because it means that much.
Sean Wright-Phillips scored a good goal in that game as well, didn't it? And I'm afraid his status is still the same for me at Rock.
Yeah, I forgot about that one, funnily enough.
Yeah.
But you know, it's it could save Poch's bacon, I think, if they pull one out of the bag for him on Thursday. I think it'd go a long way.
It's not going to happen though, Chidge, is it?
I mean, the two most memorable home games against Spurs for me that stand out in the memory because of the significance attached to them. More recently, there was the 2-2 draw when we came back from 2-0 down.
The Battle of the Bridge.
When Pochettino was the manager of Tottenham. And the coming back from 2-0 down to draw 2-2 sent the Premier League trophy up to Leicester. So
Gus Hiddink got knocked over. Do you remember?
And I mean, you know, and the other one for me was kind of the game that followed the death of Matthew Harding, and you know, kind of the minute silence, which was wonderfully observed by both sets of supporters, probably at a time when the enmity and sheer hatred that would come out of the mouths of supporters because it was unrestrained at the time. You know, that was quite incredible. But yeah, you know, I don't know. You know, Tottenham would the description of Tottenham as being Spursy, that came about during Pochettino's tenure as manager. And I don't think he hasn't quite lost that tag, has he? So this is his golden opportunity to bury that forever. You know, it's seldom, isn't it? It's seldom when you have a manager who doesn't get his name chanted by the home supporters.
Yeah. It's not happened, does it?
I mean, you know,
Do you think if we spank them 6-0 that people will chant his name?
Oh, yeah, why not?
Be lovely, wouldn't it? You know.
What tune will they use?
What to sing
for Pochettino? What would they sing if
well, in honor of our American owners, it should be "Let's go Mopo, let's go Mopo."
Because I was thinking, Pochettino, Pochettino, which is
it'll be Maurizio, because that's what we always do.
Pochettino.
Hello, Pochettino.
What it should be is Poch.
Yes, shouldn't it? Yes.
Das Poye style.
Yeah. Listen, I've got a few favourites from the Premier League. Actually, no, beyond the Premier League area, actually. Going in more recent order. Yeah, the Battle of the Bridge in 2016, which I managed to miss because I was working. Guess what? I'm missing Thursday because I'm working. The last-minute Gallas goal in 2006, where I had literally been partying up all night. I had had no sleep, and I was barely alive.
And you left. You left.
No. Hang on, one of you, Marco.
You had no sleep till Hammersmith.
I had no sleep till Hammersmith, chemically assisted, thankfully. But I just about stayed awake in time for Gallas to whap that ball into the net, and I had a perfect view of it with Dr. Mart up at gate 17. Another favourite one of mine is Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank's perfect hat-trick in 2002. And I think it was the 4x4x4, wasn't it? We beat Spurs twice 4-0, I think, in the space of a week, which was a joy. And then the George Weah one in 2000. But the other one, I think, in the spirit of Marco thinking this might be like United, JK, we did them 4-3, didn't we, with a last-minute Mark Stein penalty in 1994. Were you at that one?
I was, indeed. But we drew 4-4, didn't we? With
that was up there, though. That was up there.
Rather than at home. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. I'm just thinking generally about matches against them because we nearly always win them. And of course, the great 6-1 away. Oh, wow. That was wonderful. That was scary, though, because you couldn't actually leave the ground without being.
What's your favourite ones at home? You must have seen a few, mate.
I can't help but talk about every victory against.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to focus on the home matches.
Yeah, I know you do. I'm sorry. I've had too much.
Because, I mean, I'll tell you why. Because you've been to more of them than me. So your memory goes back far, far, far greater than mine. And I'd be really interested to hear about some of them. League matches at home against Spurs. Memories.
They don't all come flooding back in one moment, you know. I can only get sort of little bits of them. I should have done some research, shouldn't I, really? Worked out what had happened.
I just want to be singing, "Is there a fire drill?" After 10 minutes when Jackson scored 2 goals.
Yeah, that would be lovely. That would be lovely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Spurs form has been up and down. I mean, they lost 2-3 to Arsenal, as we know. They got cuffed by Newcastle 4-0. They beat Forest 3-1 at home. They drew 1-1 away to West Ham, and they beat Luton 2-1. I mean, I'd say their form has been somewhat patchy. You what?
It sort of mirrors ours, doesn't it, really?
Well, yeah, and when you consider that they're
glaringly inconsistent.
Well, yeah, I'm just looking further back, actually. They lost 3-0 away to Fulham, and that was in March, so it's not that long ago. They cuffed Villa 4-0 away the match before.
But they must have had a run of consistently good results to get where they are, to the point where their form's been rubbish recently, and they're still fifth.
They have been up and down like a tart's knickers, Marco. I mean, when we beat them 4-1, that sparked a run of a defeat to Wolves away, a defeat to Villa at home, a draw against City, a defeat to West Ham at home, and then they had 3 wins on the trot, then a loss, then 2 wins and a draw, then a loss, then a win, a draw, a win, a loss, 2 wins, a loss, a win, a draw, a win, 2 loss. I mean, as I said, they're up and down like a tart's knickers. So this is unpredictable, I venture, which is kind of what you were saying. So I'm going to ask you, Marco, stick your colours to the mast.
I am going to go for Chelsea 4, Tottenham Hotspur 2.
Okay. I like it. What about you, JK?
Apparently, David Flotzer thinks I've got birthday brain today. I would agree, actually. I think it's absolutely right. One of the best games that I enjoyed was the draw and when Tuchel had under Conte, when he then almost smashed Conte in the face afterwards. I thought that was a lovely moment.
That was our last home game against them, I do believe.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah. No, they
where the poodle got assaulted by Romero.
Grabbed his hair, and Taylor was told by Dean that it wasn't a foul. Do you remember that?
Mate, that was August 2022.
Yeah. I thought that was
the last home game against them.
We played wonderfully that day. Well, it goes to show I can only remember that far back, actually, other than going even further back and remembering a game in 1964, but I won't bore you with that. I have no clue, Chidge, once again, as always.
Me too. I'm stumped with this.
I thought we'd lose 4-1 against Villa, so I said that. I can't. Who knows? Who knows what? If we play as well as we played the other day and with the same commitment, I reckon it'll be 2-2, because that appears to be the score for everything at the moment. So 2-2, Chidge.
Yeah, okay. I've actually gone 2-1 in the Prem predictions, but I kind of I can see the sense in that. I mean, it would be an annoying result, because it would do nothing in terms of what Marco and I were talking about needs to happen. But on the other hand, we'd walk away not having lost to Tottenham. So it would just kind of leave us in limbo. And I think that would be so this season, it'd be so 2024 for Chelsea, wouldn't it?
It will be, at least we've been consistent at being inconsistent.
Yeah. I desperately want to say we're going to absolutely hammer them. I'd just love to see it. The joy that I had walking out of White Hart Lane back in whenever it was, October, and queuing up for the train with Mark Meehan amidst thousands of seething Tottenham fans hating Chelsea and miserable, absolutely replete with misery. It was just joyful.
Let's go for patterns then in this instance. With all the patterns of whatever happens with us, they always have a problem playing us, don't they? And we always think, oh, they might put it right this time, and they don't. So with that knowledge, let's predict a 3-2 win.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I'm going to go 3-2, mate. Although I've gone 2-1 in the predictions league, I'll probably keep that the same because I need the points.
2 in the prediction, I can't remember, but something like that. Yeah.
I'm going to, but 3-2. 3-2 would do me. Sadly, I will not be there to share the joy or the misery with you because I have to work. But Matt Skilton's got my ticket, bless him. So he will enjoy the night one way or two. He's very chuffed actually to get it because, of course, this is the match we always want to go to. It's the first on the Premier League fixtures list. First one we look for. When have we got Spurs? That'll do me. What do? They move it to a Thursday night, so I can't go. I've just had it. I've had it with this bloody Premier League broadcaster nonsense. But there you go. Anyway, enough moaning by me, because that is all we have time for tonight. Yes, indeed. Right, we'll be back on Friday, of course, at 7:30, and we'll have the Reverend Tony Glover on with us to look back at the Spurs match, hopefully in joyous mood, and ahead to the match against West Ham on Sunday afternoon. Quick shout out for In Off the Post. If you want your email read out on the show when we bother to do an In Off the Post, then send it to chelseafancast@gmail.com. Don't forget our little deal with NordVPN to get the best. Pause, rewind. To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/ChelseaFancast. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, and you'll help support the jolly old Chelsea Fancast. It's true, you will. Now, you can follow the show on all of the social media at Chelsea Fancast, me at Stamford Chidge, Jonathan at Jonathan Kydd, and Marco at Gate 17 Marco, because, as I said in the introduction that goes out on YouTube, Marco is Gate 17's finest.
So are you, sir.
Nah, mate, you're finer than me, mate. You've been finer for longer than me. It's lovely to see you, mate. As always, as I said, I shall miss you on Thursday, and I haven't seen you at the stall for a while. So I shall. Well, what time are you getting to the West Ham game? Because I'm going to be up well early because I've got to do the over the line thing.
It's an early kickoff as well, isn't it?
2:00. I've got to be there about 11.
Oh, I'll be there.
All right, I'll come and say hello and have a coffee with you before I go and see that lot.
Jolly good.
All right, but keep well, stay well, and enjoy the game on Thursday, man. Lovely to see you. There you go. Lovely to see you. JK, you old sugar fixed up reprobate that you are. Happy birthday for Saturday.
I ate it all, thank you.
You ate it all. You ate all of that cake.
All of it. I had all of it. My daughter didn't have any of it either. What's the matter with me?
It explains an awful lot. Yeah. Sugar-induced coma, I think. Oh, by the way, Brian Justman is in the house. I believe it might be his birthday today. Confirm or deny very quickly before we leave you.
Yeah.
Oh, no, ours are separated by a whole day. So maybe yours was yesterday, Brian. Maybe Brian shares his birthday with the Chelsea Fancast birthday, which, of course, was yesterday. Either way, Brian, happy birthday to you too, mate. We love you, masses. He's such a loyal supporter of this little show. Bless his heart. JK, enjoy the game on Thursday.
I'll have a go, Chidge. I'll have a go.
I look forward to your fan bite afterwards, obviously.
Yeah, they'll be able to do it on time this time. I got back at 2:00 in the morning from Villa. I couldn't do it. I was so exhausted.
Mate, I don't blame you. It's a ridiculous time for a football match on a Saturday. How dare they? How very dare they? All right, we got to go. Thank you for watching and listening, and we will see you on Friday. Until then, keep it blue, keep it carefree, and keep it Chels. Up the Chelsea!